And the new Bank of Japan Governor Haruhiko Kuroda himself, he is refusing to set a time limit for easing and will continue until sustainable inflation is achieved.
It's not appropriate to say that the monetary easing will only last for 2 years. BOJ will continue with monetary easing until we achieve the price stability target of 2%. We've done everything possible at this moment to achieve our goal in 2 years.
Now, not everyone's convinced about Kuroda's policies. That includes Takeshi Fujimaki, who's a former advisor to George Soros. And he says the BOJ's boosting of easing isn't going to turn the Japanese economy around. Instead, he claims it will actually make a default more likely.
The Bank of Japan and the government will share the same risk now. I think Abenomics will fail, and the yen will crash, and the interest rates will skyrocket. Kuroda's policy is suicidal to both the BOJ and the government.
Wow, those are pretty strong words there from the former George Soros advisor. Well, as we mentioned earlier, while the Bank of Japan is defending itself, defending its current policy stance, and of course the depreciation in the yen, pressure is mounting on Tokyo to stay clear of what the global community is calling deliberate devaluation. Let's bring in David Inglis now, who's on Yen Watch. And as we head into the G20 and the IMF meetings, of course, Kuroda is going to have a lot to defend himself on. But what I found really interesting was the Treasury currency report from the U.S., which has, in the past been focusing in on China, but now that focus has shifted to Japan.
Obviously, we do expect a lot of these sorts of posturing ahead of the G20, Susan. And I guess what's interesting, as you mentioned, of course, the focus has shifted away from China now to Japan, given the fact that whether or not it was a product really of Japan's monetary policy. The yen has certainly weakened against the dollar, against the euro, even against the South Korean won. So certainly the target is on Japan to further clarify the objective of its policy. So we do have the U.S. Treasury coming out with its semi-annual currency report saying that they will be pressing Japan to refrain from competitive devaluation of their currency. The EU, the European Commission, also in the mix here, saying that they do plan on pushing Japan to rely less on things like fiscal and monetary policy and instead focus really on more structural changes. I guess just to highlight that statement from Mr. Fujimaki earlier. And now also I mentioned South Korea, which also has become obviously disadvantaged because the yen has also weakened substantially.
That's a record low against the won, by the way. That cross, the yen-won cross.
1148, 1150. Yeah, there you go. And, it does really put into context what the finance minister said, that the yen is a flashing red light to the country's exports. He urges the G20 to revisit this currency issue. They did let Japan off the hook a little bit in the last time they met. And obviously, I guess, just to clarify for our viewers, obviously here competitive evaluation is really about whether or not a country or its policymakers come out in public and say, the target is to weaken the currency, or that they have a specific target for the exchange rate, something which we should also note that Japan has been very careful to avoid.
Yeah, that currency report from the Treasury, though, said they're not saying Japan is manipulating its currency. And the markets are also concerned a bit because we hit some resistance at 100 to the U.S. dollar, haven't we? So close, 99.78 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then pushing back now.
We're at 98.50 right now, I believe in that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, David Inglis, there with a look at Japan and the yen.